discussion about Bhagavad Gita. I can't see all of your faces, but I can hear you, all of you. So if you can speak, unmute yourselves and speak, then I will be able to understand that whatever I'm speaking is, you're able to understand it, and even to check your technological these things also, because we're all sitting distinctly away from each other. So just for me to also understand that you guys, all of you are able to listen to me and hear me, and if anything is there, you can definitely. So, and somebody can unmute yourselves and say you're able to hear me and see me, and you're also able to see the screen. Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Others also can respond. And Prabhuji,
Yes.
if you feel inconvenience in sharing through mobile, then I have the PPT open in my laptop. So if you want, I can share from my end also.
Okay, so like on your screen, is the PPT visible clearly, or is there any distortions coming? If that is there, then maybe I guess.
Yeah, it's visible clearly, no distortions.
Okay. If any chance, anything, if any problem comes in the middle, then I'll tell you to share.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let us all begin with prayers, Prabhus and Matajis. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadatik Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcoming all of you and to this Bhagavad Gita session, discussion of Bhagavad Gita. We are coming now to the third chapter till now. So I guess everybody knows me. I'll just introduce myself just quickly so that those who don't know me can quickly just relate to what I'm. So my name is Krishna Chaitanya. I'm a mechanical engineer, completed my mechanical engineering from Pune. I'm of course belonging to the Bilapur congregation, staying in Kharghar, connected to ISKCON Chapati and even ISKCON Kharghar. I've been in this movement, in Krishna consciousness movement, since my childhood. When I was about 3 years of age, my father entered Krishna consciousness, so as my family. And since then, I've been trying to understand Krishna consciousness the same way as you all are also trying to understand. And of course, through blessings of Vaishnavas and devotees and disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we are fortunate to have them, that getting the direct association and able to render some services in Krishna consciousness and also maintain our consciousness through that. Right now, I'm working for a company known as EvoB Automations Private Limited. It's a edutech company. We encourage children to innovate in technologies and help them to build different projects. So I run a innovation lab known as Mice Labs in JJ Hospital in Mumbai. So that's just about me, my brief background. So till now, first chapter and second chapter, Narshinglila Proji has been taking, and second chapter, I think Shri Gaur Kirtan too has been taking. Of course, I'm not experts like both of them, but I'm just a beginner. But whatever my superiors have instructed and ordered me, and whatever I've heard from them, I will speak to the best of my capacity. If anything I speak beyond my realizations, please forgive me, and please give me the blessing so that I represent Vyasdev and my spiritual master properly through this. So let's begin our topic for today. We'll be starting the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And this particular chapter is going to talk about Karma Yoga. It's the name. Action in Krishna consciousness, how we all need to do work. So I think in previous chapters till now, what we'll try to understand that how every chapter is being linked with each other. So it's not that कि suddenly भगवान ने बोला अर्जुन को नहीं अभी मैं third chapter शुरू करने वाला अभी मैं fourth chapter शुरू करने वाला ऐसा नहीं है. But you know the thing is that all of these chapters are linked together. So let us try to understand how this chapter 2 and chapter 3 are linked together. Okay. So before that, I'll just give you a quick summary of what was discussed in chapter 1 and 2. Okay. So all of us know that, you know, how Bhagavad Gita itself as, set up its scene, right? So both the armies, Pandava army and Kaurava army have come to the Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, right, in order to fight. And then Dhritarashtra asked this question that, you know, what have the sons of Pandu and my sons, Mamaka, Pandavaschaiva, what have they come to do? What is happening there? Oh, Sanjaya, please give me some updates. So Sanjaya had his Zoom call with the battlefield. He was live streaming the entire battle to Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra was in his home in Hastinapur, and so Sanjay was live streaming the entire event to Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra could not see, but Ved Vyas had given Sanjay the transcendental vision to see things. So we also saw in that how Arjuna was getting bewildered, right? Because he asks Krishna to right? He asks him to take in the between, right? And he comes take in between both the armies, and then Arjuna sees his uncles, his brothers, all his friends, relatives, and then he starts shivering, and then he gives reasons that why he doesn't want to fight. And even the army structure, how the Kurukshetra army is the army set up, right? Because every army, in any warfare they come, there is a kind of proper setup, right? Which warrior should stand where, how the view rachana of the soldiers are there. All these things are very, very properly planned, and ancient warfare, the war is set up, right? So all those descriptions are there, the first chapter. And then of course Arjuna gets bewildered by seeing all of his relatives. He gives reasons why he doesn't want to fight. Then he has indecision, which then connects to chapter 2, where he surrenders to Krishna, and he says that, I cannot fight, and you are my spiritual master, please instruct me. So until all this stage, Krishna was silently listening. He was just smiling to what Arjuna was saying. But when Arjuna said that, Krishna, I'm surrendering unto you, you are my guru, that is when then Krishna starts the philosophy. He starts speaking about Bhagavad Gita. He begins with Sankhya Yoga, where he talks about analytical understanding of the spiritual knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. He gives information about the soul, body, right? We know that dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. These kind of verses have been talked about. Matra sparshastu kaunteya situ ushna sukha dukkada, right? Sober person is not bewildered. Then he talks about Buddhi Yoga. He talks about how a person should use his intelligence in order to serve the Supreme Lord. And that Buddhi Yoga is also called as Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? Nishkama. So no desire, no attachment to karma. And Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is basically a combination of karma plus jnana, right? Jnana is wisdom, knowledge, acting in knowledge. So basically karma and jnana, when you combine both of them, you act, but you don't act simply just because for the sake of acting. You act because you have to, because you know the right knowledge. Okay. So basically, even also then Arjuna asks, right, that okay, I understand this karma and jnana, but how should I be detached? What is that spirit that I need to know? And then all the description of Sthita Pragya comes, right? Krishna speaks about Sthita Pragya ka bhasha. Arjuna asks this question: how is you're telling me about Sthita Pragya? What does he do? How does he eat? How does he walk? How does he interact with people? What are his way? How does he behave in this world? So Sthita Pragya is something which Krishna talks about in very detail. And then he ends the chapter with this verse that he gives this peace formula: Bhuktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwar. He tells that who is in control. And he also talks about the Sthita Pragya's description. Then starts this Karma Yoga, where in this third chapter, where Krishna says that you should stay away from all abominable activities, and you should do Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga is basically working in intelligence. But now over here, this Arjuna gets confused. He gets a question that Krishna, you're telling me that I should use my intelligence and I should avoid all abominable activities. Fine, I understand that. But you're also saying that you want me to fight. So both the statements look contradictory. Like, I cannot understand. And then he asks this question. You're also Arjuna also says that Krishna, you told me that I should be renounced. Like, you told me about Sthita Pragnya, but you're also telling me be a strong karma yogi. You're telling me to practice karma yoga. Both of them look very different. And so Arjuna basically misunderstood. He thought that maybe being detached means I need to go to the forest and then beg my arms, and I should be detached, and I should basically tyaga sabko tyag karke I should go and sit in the forest, and then I should be simply just trying to earn my livelihood like that. But on the other side, you're also saying that you need to fight. I don't understand what is the relation. And then so confusion is something that when everybody gets confused, because when there is more than one option, there is equally a opportunity that anybody can get confused. And right, we all of these things we also face in our life, right? Arjuna is just representing all of us on on our behalf. He's asking these questions to Krishna. But practically seeing, हमारे जिंदगी में भी इस टाइप के सारे चीजें गुजरते हैं, right? So then Arjuna basically asks Krishna that you're telling me to do all these things, but how you're also telling me to fight. You're telling me to renounce and as well as fight. So my confusion is, should I renounce or should I fight? Which then Krishna says that so Krishna gives a different kind of a detail. So on the screen, if you see right now, is a flowchart or a summary of the entire third chapter, right? In which he speaks about. So if you see, the verses are divided in this particular format. The first and second verse, Arjuna's confusion. Third to 16th verse, Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga, and he also says that how Jnana Yoga is difficult. So then he prescribes that Nishkam Karma Yoga. What is exactly Nishkam Karma Yoga? And how you should transcend from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, right? Huge difference is there. Looks similar, the terms, but a lot of differences is there. And in the last, in the second thing, then 17 to 35, he also speaks about what exactly is the qualification for renunciation, and who is a person who's a renunciate, who is a person, then he also talks about why Nishkam Karma Yoga is much better than actual renunciation. And then in the last 36 to 43, in that section, he talks about how lust is a formidable enemy on the path of yoga. So how one should conquer lust by deliberate spiritual intelligence, right? So I think lust is something that because of which we are all there in this material world. This material world is known as Maithun Agar because of, we are all attracted to some or the other object. It's not, lust doesn't mean attraction between man and woman. I'm talking about even lust for a desire to achieve something or have something, that is also lust, right? So all these things are there, and Krishna is giving us ways how we should actually conquer this. And thanks to Vyasdev, and then we are eternally grateful to Srila Prabhupada for translating those ancient texts, the conversation, Krishna Arjuna Samvada, to Bhagavad Gita, and translate it into English language, into an easily understandable language, into all, something which people like us can, all of us, understand this very easily. So this is how the chapter flows goes, and this is how we are going to see about the entire thing. Okay, so let's get started with our chapter. Yes. So the first first and second verse, as I mentioned, Arjuna is confused, right? Please tell me which is beneficial for me, because he's confused between renunciation or action. Which one should I actually work, right? Where should I actually perform my duties? And, how am I supposed to perform my duties when you're also saying that I should be detached? And now we can see that Krishna is going to talk about Nishtam Karma Yoga. He's going to say that action, but without attachment to the fruits, without attachment to the results, and action because you want to serve me, and action in knowledge, right? So Krishna has spoken 4 levels in the second chapter. We can see Jnana Yoga, right, in which he says that renounced in activity. I guess the font is Balram font is not there, so the PPT is showing something. So I hope you can understand what exactly is being written on the PPT. So Jnana Yoga is what Krishna says in the second chapter is renounced inactivity and no fighting. That is what Krishna says, Jnana Yoga. But Nishkam Karma Yoga, where Krishna is saying why Nishkam Karma Yoga is better. So he's talking about renounced activity, fighting for liberation, right? So the first one is renounced inactivity, renounce and no activity. But second is Nishkam Karma Yoga, where you basically renounce, but you're active. You fight for the liberation, right? The third thing is Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is fruitive activities. So just for some fruitive results, that ye karenge, Durga ka puja karo, आपका सारा धन दौलत अच्छा रहेगा, लक्ष्मी पूजा करो आपको धन दौलत मिलेगा, संपत्ति मिलेगा, शिव जी का पूजा करो अच्छी पत्नी मिलेगी, गौरी पूजा करो अच्छा पति मिलेगा. So all these kind of things are karma kanda, because you are doing these things just in order to get something out of it, right? Then vikarma is sinful activity, because something which you don't want to do any activity. कई बार आप लोग को पढ़ाई करते वक्त लगता है यार सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के I better go and sit in the forest and renounce everything, and probably I just chant Hare Krishna and then do some service. That's it. Why should I study, and why should I get results? Why should I endeavor so much like a ass in this college or school, and aage ka padhai karna hai, so many things. So this particular chapter is for all of us, because Krishna is going to give a lot of importance towards Nishkam Karma Yoga and how that is very, very important. So vikarma is basically sinful, because he says that you're giving up your prescribed duties. So Krishna definitely doesn't allow anybody to give up their prescribed duty unless and until your heart is purified. So if you do premature renunciation, what exactly happens? So Krishna gives those kind of information to all of us, information through his wisdom, through his knowledge. So let us see that now. So in this verse, then, the first 2 verses where Arjuna expresses confusion, and he asks between renunciation karna chahiye ya action karna chahiye. Should I सब कुछ त्याग करके दुनिया को त्याग दूं, या मैं act करूं. Then Krishna is now going to speak about Shri Bhagavan Vacha. He starts speaking about it, right? So he then starts saying that, Arjuna, in the second chapter, or in the previously also, I've talked about two kinds of people. So he mentions two people, Gyan Yogis and Gyan Yogis, who are people who renounce the work. So they don't do work. They try to, excuse me. They try to acquire knowledge. Their main aim is to acquire knowledge through philosophical speculation and understanding Krishna, or maybe understanding who is the supreme, who is the absolute truth. uh, Very lately they realize, to Krishna consciousness, they realize that Krishna is the supreme lord. And there is the second kind of people, who's a karma yogi, who just does prescribed work, right? So Krishna is now talking about here in this particular purport. Srila Prabhupada also mentions that one with an impure heart should perform prescribed activities, because you perform this prescribed activities, that is something which will lead you to the purification of the heart, and that is what is explained in the next consecutive verses. So Krishna is telling about the people, the process, empirical philosophical speculation. Prabhupada mentions these words in the purport, if you see in this verse. And he also says that empirical philosophical speculation, that is one kind, that is Jnana Yogis, to mention them in English. And the second kind of people are people who are Karma Yogis, who perform work. Okay. Yes. The next verse, just a minute. Yeah. So the next verse, where the fourth verse of 3.4, we are talking about 3.4, where Krishna is now talking about how a person, if he prematurely renounced. So basically he says that Krishna is discouraging the fact that premature renunciation is something which is abominable. Now, what is the problem? Why one should prematurely renounce? Like, senses ko chhod do, sab kuch chhod ke, just go to forest and then work there. So over here, Krishna is giving reasons through different categories, right? So he gives differences between, so like in the previous verse, there's a connection. The connection between third verse, the 3.3 and 3.4. Let us see the connection between that. So in that one, he talks about Gyan Yoga, where you philosophically or analytically try to understand Krishna or the supreme truth. And in Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, it is said, Prabhupada writes in the purport, that these people work for Krishna, right? They are working. They do not leave their duties. They are working, but they are working for Krishna. Then in Gyan Yoga, there is a prerequisite. सब लोग ज्ञान योग अर्पण नहीं कर सकते. Everybody cannot become a ज्ञान yogi unless and until your senses are pure. Because your senses, if you work with your impure senses, if you try to acquire knowledge in Gyan Yogi, all of you have attended this journey of self-discovery, right? In the second session, it talks about the limitations of the senses, right? So our senses cannot acquire different kinds of knowledge. And therefore, because our senses are not pure and they have limitations. So the basic prerequisite for Gyan Yoga or Gyan Yogi is that you need to have pure senses. But of the senses, right? So our senses cannot acquire. I'm able to hear a feedback because our senses are not pure and they have limitations. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so
extremely sorry.
No problem. So I'm talking about so I was talking about Dhyan Yoga versus Karma Yoga. And in Dhyan Yoga, because your prerequisite is that your senses have to be pure, you cannot directly start the process of Dhyan Yoga. But for Karma Yoga, it's not necessary. Your prerequisites are that even with an impure heart, you can start, because Karma Yoga doesn't require that kind of a prerequisite. Even if your senses are not pure, even if you have not purified yourself, you can start working, because all you need to start working for Krishna. That is all what you need to do. And in Gyan Yoga, what happens is you gradually realize through the process of speculation or philosophical analytical study, you try to slowly you try to realize who is the supreme truth. So, like for example, Prabhupada he also gives this example in his lectures that, okay, where is my nose? We all know that biology teaches us nose is over here. But what Gyan yogis basically try to, they speculate, okay, is my nose this one? Okay, this is my not my nose. What is the function of a nose? It takes smell. No, this is not taking smell. Okay, is my nose over here? No, it's not there. Where is my nose? Here? No. Is this my nose? Probably. Some experimentation is required. So you see how complex is that process. If somebody comes and says, no, this is your nose, and through this you can breathe and you can take smells, right? So that's so simple. But no, we are like, no, you can't. We need to prove that experimentally, and then you try to do various tests on the body and then say, no, okay, this is nose. So see how what kind of a foolishness is that, right? So this is basically, we need to understand that we need to practice something which is easy for this day and age. And Krishna understands that Kali Yuga jivas cannot do a lot of philosophical speculation, so they need to practice directly. So Gyan Yoga is difficult, it's time taking. We also know about this words, bahunam janmanam yante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha, right? Which also talks about that after taking millions of birth, maybe one soul will come to the realization path, and that such a mahatma is very rare, right? And but whereas karma yoga, it's easy, it's sublime. What you need to do, you need to act in Krishna consciousness. Whatever acting you're doing, whatever seva you're doing, whatever work you are doing, even it is your prescribed duty, your occupational duty, it has to be done with the motive to please Krishna. That is all. That's karma yoga, right? So in this fourth verse where Krishna talks about premature renunciation, now we got a base point that why we should not prematurely renounce our duties, right? Because now here Krishna is talking about that simply by giving up work, if you just give up work, and it doesn't guarantee that all the reactions of those work don't go. So he's saying that it doesn't guarantee just that you सब कुछ त्याग करके एक कोने में बैठने से ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आपने जो पहले कर्म किए उसका रिएक्शंस नहीं जाते, राइट? फॉर एवरी एक्शन देयर इज एन इक्वल एंड ऑपोजिट रिएक्शन. We all have studied the Newton's third law. So basically we try to understand that just simply by renunciation you cannot give up the reaction doesn't go. But that also doesn't mean that if you give up, like if you actually renounce, that doesn't also guarantee that you may become perfect, right? Now why is that? We'll see in that in the subsequent verses. We'll understand that why even renunciation will not lead you to perfection. Now Krishna also in this Prabhupada also gives very detailed explanation in the purport. He says that premature acceptance of sannyas will not help in achieving perfection, right? It will not help you to achieve perfection. Because why is it that? It's because the heart is impure, right? The purification of heart is important over here. So in premature renunciation, if you are not, your heart has not reached to a mature stage, gratification, that is when you can actually be purified. Once your purification is guaranteed, that is when that is when you can actually talk about self-realization, or you can actually become self-realized for your own self. Now am I able to, like, all are all able to hear me, right? Am I audible to all of you? Hare Krishna.
I can hear you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Everybody is speaking, so I thought maybe. Okay, so now what happens over here? Krishna is talking about that premature acceptance of sannyas will not help in achieving perfection. So right? So, and even what happens is in the Mayavadis or the Gyanvadis, the people who are towards Gyanis, the Gyanis, they say that once you've taken sannyas, that means you've become Narayan. Now that's not possible, right? Just by taking sannyas, nobody can become Narayan because Narayan is only one, right? Eko Narayan. We know that Krishna is only one, Narayan is only one. Nobody can. It's Narayan is not a position; he's a person, the personality, right? We cannot just by taking sannyas and renouncing the world, we don't become Narayan. On the other hand, Prabhupada also talks in the purport that Jiva has the tendency to work. So it is not possible to maintain the fourth order because see, in हमारे नेचर ही है अगर मैं आपको अकेले एक रूम में डाल दूं ऐसा नहीं है कि आप दिन भर you will sit in a corner or maybe reading Prabhupada books or whole day just trying to do some one activity only. It's not possible. You need to do a lot of activities, right? You cannot just sit idle in one place and just say you can't just say shanti 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 and you cannot sit in one place. Look at the world today, how people are running towards things. Abhi people covid की वजह से जो lockdown हुआ, people were getting frustrated at homes, right? I'm sure all of you are also to a certain extent all are frustrated कि कब लॉकडाउन ये सब खुलेगा, कब हमारे स्कूल कॉलेजेस खुलेंगे, कब हम अपने दोस्तों से मिलेंगे, राइट? कब ये ऑनलाइन क्लासेस बंद होकर ऑफलाइन क्लासेस शुरू होंगे, राइट? पीपल आर फ्रस्ट्रेटेड. The reason is that you can't lock down people in one room and say that just stay at home, don't come outside and don't do any work. That's not possible. Even if you're locked down, you need to do some kind of a work, right? And that is what basically talks about the nature of the soul. And the nature of the soul is it has to work, it has to do some activity, it cannot sit idle. Our mind cannot be never idle. We can also understand that when we sit for chanting, when we sit for doing our rounds, how crazy the mind is, right? किधर किधर कहाँ कहाँ के थॉट्स किधर किधर भगाता है माइंड. होली नेम पे कंसंट्रेशन नहीं होता है एंड वी आर लाइक कि अरे ये कौन कर रहा है, ये क्या कर रहा है, ये कौन है, ऑल दोस काइंड ऑफ थॉट्स वी कीप गेटिंग इन द माइंड. मेरा स्कूल का असाइनमेंट्स बाकी है, ये टीचर बहुत होमवर्क देती है, एंड मेरा पेरेंट्स का प्रेशर आ रहा है, आईआईटी में सीट लेना है, मेडिसिन में सीट लेना है, and these kind of pressures and all those things, thoughts keep coming to us, and all these things keep disturbing our mind. So our mind is not going to be stable, right? We see these kind of things when we sit for chanting, when we sit for studying, all these kind of thoughts come, right? So therefore what Prabhupada is saying in the purport is that it is important to be doing your prescribed duties and then serving the Lord through buddhi yoga or karma yoga. So basically you need to be you cannot directly renounce, right? The next verse, the fifth verse, in which Krishna is talking about the theme that inaction is unnatural. Simply by sitting in one, like till now I also said that it is the nature of jiva to work, right? So for us अपना nature ही है वो to do some or the other activity, right? So we cannot simply sit, right? Everybody has to work according to the qualities that they have. Everybody has the qualities, and we all are in this material world. All of us know that we are in this material world, and this material world is controlled by three modes of material nature, right? Can somebody unmute themselves and say what are the three modes of material nature that we are all under? I don't think so. I have asked a very tough question. Can somebody unmute themselves and say? Haribol?
Prabhuji, goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Hare Krishna. Did you get my question? What are the three modes of material nature?
Goodness, passion, ignorance.
Yes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, yes, goodness, passion, and ignorance is something which we are all predominated by. And at all times of the day, we are in either of these modes, we all know that morning time is mode of goodness, afternoon time and is afternoon and evening time is mode of passion, night time is mode of ignorance. We are always in these modes. So when we're always under these modes, we also have certain qualities. Everybody has different kinds of qualities. Everybody's nature is different. Everybody has a different kind of qualities. And therefore, because of these kind of, we have these kind of qualities, and we also fall under the material nature. Material modes are acting upon us. Therefore, of course, we have to transcend those modes. We need to come to mode of goodness, then transcend that mode of goodness to mode of transcendental goodness. We need to come to that mode, right? And that particular mode talks about different kinds of, it will actually take us closer to Krishna, right? Because Krishna is beyond all these three modes of material nature. So now over here, what we need to also understand that because soul's nature, Jiva's nature is to be, we are supposed to be active. सबको कुछ ना कुछ activity करना है, right? Whereas the body is dead, right? Body is dead, soul is living. We all know the example, the JSD, Journey of Self Discovery mein, apne course mein we have known the concept of body and soul, how the soul is, we know the example given by Prabhupada as well, right? So the concept of car and driver, right? Jab tak car is like the body and soul is the driver, right? जब तक ड्राइवर गाड़ी चालू नहीं करता, चलाता नहीं है, तब तक गाड़ी उधर ही खड़ा रहता है. Why? Because car is dead. It's a dead object. But उसके अंदर एक living person, soul, the driver, when he sits, that is when the car starts moving. We have all heard this example. So in this purport, Prabhupada writes very interestingly that since Jiva's nature, मतलब काम तो करना ही है सबको, तो so he says that why not work for Krishna? Because if you don't work for Krishna, the material mode will make you work under its nature, right? Material nature आपको उनके अंडर काम करवाएगा. So is it better to have Krishna as our master and work for him, or is it better to work under the material nature? Choice is yours. Whom do you want to work and whom do you want to please? Because irrespective, because the Jiva's nature is you have to work. You cannot sit idle. But you just need to choose whom you want to work for. अगर आप कृष्णा के लिए काम करना चाहते हो, तो definitely Krishna is going to take you under his control. But अगर आप काम नहीं करना चाहते हो कृष्णा के लिए, automatically you fall under the purview of material nature, Maya Devi. So Maya is going to make you work like an ass. She is going to like नहीं भगाएगी, दौड़ाएगी एकदम आप, right? So as long as Maya Devi is with Krishna, she's Yoga Maya, she's very kind, she's like Parvati, right? She's very peaceful, very quiet. But agar Krishna se alag ho gayi and then आपको अलग से दिखा, तो she's Devi Kali Devi पूरा पूरा अपना ये करेगी. So she will show her tandav by giving the Trishul. The Trishul is three modes of material nature. So she will attack with those three modes, right? So Prabhupada says it's better to work. You have to work. There's no choice. It's better to work for Krishna than to work for Maya. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17 also supports the same thing. I'll just read out the verse. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. It speaks about Tvaktva Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harer Bhajan Apakvo Athap Pathe Tatho Yadi Yatra Kwa Bhavadram Abud Amusyakim Ka Ko Varto Apto Bhajatam Swadharmataha. The translation is as follows. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. So this is what is written. But if he carries out all injunctions for purification in Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? So this verse is talking about that you need to be engaged, you need to work, but you cannot, so even if you can't do your prescribed duty properly, but if you still execute Krishna consciousness properly, then what happens is you get you get a higher path. You are liberated. And even though if you may fall down from the standard, there is no loss. That is what is also taught. We also know in Bhagavad Gita also it is said, Neha Vikramanastosi Pratyahayo Naya Vidyate Swalpamasya Api Dharmasya Trayato Mahato Bhayat, which talks about that even a little endeavor in Krishna consciousness there is no loss. There is a small endeavor, Swalpamapi Dharmasya, right? Which even small thing, small activity also you do for Krishna, there is no loss in that. But here it is in this Bhagavatam verse, it's also said that if you carry out sub Vedas, sab kuch follow kiya, but if you're not Krishna consciousness, then there is no use of you following all those Vedas, Vedic injunctions, and purification rites जो शास्त्रास में mention किए गए, सब कुछ करोगे, but Krishna conscious नहीं हो, so there is no use. That is what Bhagavatam is mentioning, right? And then here also it's talking about following Vedas, right? You cannot simply follow Vedas without Krishna consciousness. There is no use without Krishna consciousness simply by following Vedas. But if you do prescribed duties well properly, but if you're a Krishna conscious devotee, even if your prescribed duties are not to the perfection, but you're a devotee, then there is no loss. Then you're still in the better path, right? This is what he speaks in the 5th verse. Now comes is the 6th verse, where Krishna is talking about which kind of a person is a pretender, right? Because in this verse he talks about there are some kind of people who will simply renounce. Kyunki bola hai, they feel, they start getting frustrated of the material nature, and then they try to renounce everything. And these kind of people are people who restrict their senses. लेकिन restriction करना काफी नहीं है ना, mind तो उधर ही भागेगा, right? So like for example, you take a vow saying कि I will not eat ice creams, okay, for the next 1 month, or I will now stop eating ice creams. Now you are saying that you are trying to restrict yourselves from ice creams, but सामने से कोई ice cream लेके जाएगा आपका favorite flavor वाला, आपका मुंह में पानी आएगा, right? And on top of that, जब गर्मी का मौसम है, धूप में आप खड़े हो बाहर, और आप बहुत थक के खेल के क्रिकेट खेल के आए हो, and you have come after a heavy play, and then you are standing there and somebody is taking a cool melted ice cream, right? So for example, if you like vanilla ice cream topped with chocolate, hot chocolate on that, and that ice cream is melting, like आपको दिख रहा है, आपके सामने से कोई खाता हुआ जा रहा है, मुंह में तुरंत पानी आता है, right? So what happens is that Krishna is trying to tell us that आप externally आप उस sense object को छोड़ सकते हो, senses को control करने का कोशिश कर सकते हो, restrict कर सकते हो, लेकिन problem क्या है, mind आपका उधर ही जाएगा, because mind is not purified, mind is not controlled. And people who simply external level पे renounce करते हैं, and who just pose themselves that हम लोग त्यागी हैं, हम लोग ज्ञानी बाबा है, त्याग चुके हैं हम लोग, पूरा दुनिया मोह माया सब कुछ त्याग करके हम बैठे हैं, those people, their minds are still absorbed in sense objects. And these kind of people, ये ढोंगी बाबा लोग, they speak a lot of philosophy, but इनका मन जो है साफ नहीं है. They speak बहुत philosophical points बात करते हैं, but इनका मन साफ नहीं है. So ऐसे लोग जब बोलते हैं, they tend to cheat people. So these kind of people are meant as cheaters, right? So Prabhupada writes in the purport very strongly that these kind of people are cheaters. They simply have taken external forms of renunciation, but their mind is not renounced. Therefore, they are supposed to be, they're called cheaters, because they may speak simple philosophy, dry philosophy, but they're seeking sense enjoyment, right? उनको enjoy करने के लिए देखते हैं. And that's why we see that इतने सारे जो ढोंगी बाबा वगैरह हैं, like in India also, many of these babas have been arrested, because बाहर तो वो लोग बहुत कुछ बता रहे हैं, and then अंदर तो कुछ तो अलग ही चालू है, अलग तरीके का रंग रस, all those kind of, they're caught with women having illicit affairs, and they're smoking ganja, bidi, and all these kind of things they are doing, right? These babas are externally trying to show that we have renounced, but internally their minds are totally, kind of this thing. Once in Vrindavan temple, Krishna Balram temple, there was one person who was wearing dhoti kurta kantimala tilak, वो आके वहां पर कीर्तन चालू था, heavy कीर्तन was going on, and this fellow started crying, and he was trying to show symptoms of ecstasy. जो जो गोपी भाव जो आता है, right, the symptoms of ecstasy what Mahaprabhu and gopis have shown, he was trying to do that. He was trying to do some ecstasy, and devotees were like, अरे ये बहुत pure devotee है, शायद शुद्ध भक्त होंगे, he's expressing gopi bhav there. So Prabhupada ji could actually see the truth. He's a pure devotee. He can actually see the truth. He can see through the person. And he said that, don't simply conclude like that. He says कि तुम लोग लाठी वाठी लेके इसको मारना शुरू करो, तो देखते हैं क्या करता है. And then actually devotees, proper disciples goes and actually starts hitting, and ये आदमी इतना, when they start hitting, he starts, अरे क्यों मार रहे, and then he becomes very angry कि तुम लोग ऐसे कैसे मार सकते हो, ये, and he becomes so angry, and then he starts cursing them कि अरे तुम लोग क्या ऐसे कर रहे हैं. So then Prabhupada says that ये आदमी, if he's a true devotee, even मार खाने के बावजूद भी, he will not respond to these kind of things, because he's supposed to detach from all these things, right? But all these things externally जो दिखा रहा है, that is all detached, that is external show bottle spirituality, right? So these kind of peoples are very dangerous. We need to be very careful from such people जो pretenders है. तो आपके friends कई बार आपके साथ आर्ग्यू करते होंगे कि क्या आप लोग ये गुरु वगैरह रखते हो, ये गुरु को आप रिस्पेक्ट करते हो, कौन है ये लोग, we know. So you should say that how to identify who is a genuine spiritual master. Somebody who is very dedicated to Krishna, and such kind of a person who is very, very dedicated to Krishna, is Guru, is following the principles of Guru, is following the principles of Vedic injunctions, principles of what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Such a person is a genuine Guru, and who is not misrepresenting his spiritual master, misrepresenting the parampara, misrepresenting even Krishna. Such a kind of a person. So, and also plus the main thing is that his senses are not on sense gratification. His senses are completely utilized to serve Krishna. Such a kind of a person is a genuine Guru. So check for all these. This is a checklist whether the person is genuine or not, right? So whenever your people say कि नहीं तुम लोग सब ढोंगी है, ask them to do these check, run them to do this checklist, right? Yeah. Now coming to the seventh verse, where Krishna is talking about that he's appreciating that a sincere, dutiful householder is much better than a Mayavadi Sannyasi or a Mithyachari. Not Mayavadi, Mithyachari. Mithyachari is nothing but a pretender. Mithya is something false. So Mithya Achar, jo Mithya ka Achar, like somebody who's practicing something which is false, the Mithyachari, right? So this Mithyachari, if he is going to present something to you, and Mithyachari ho shayad sannyas mein bhi ho. Sannyas is the highest order of the varnashram system, right? And wo chahe sannyasi bhi ho, lekin ek sincere householder is much better. That is what is being spoken in the seventh verse of the third chapter, 3.7. So he says instead a sincere follower, sincere dutiful grihastha is much better, because he's trying to control the mind. He's trying to control. At least he knows that I'm supposed to control mind, right? He knows that, and he's trying to control. He's on the process, and he begins karma yoga. Trying to work without attachment. He's much better than that mithyachari sannyasi, right? And then he also talks about in this purport, Prabhupada also writes that you remain in your own business. No need to leave your own business, right? So you're all students, you're all studying. Don't leave your studies. Rather, you execute these studies, whatever duties you're doing, execute that for a better purpose of life. And that is much far better than what a pretender is doing, right? Externally denouncing the world, but mind is totally attached. So here also Prabhupada mentions very distinctly in the verse that he's talking about that in everybody has this one, we should all aspire for one Swartha Gati. And that Swartha Gati is nothing but to reach Vishnu. Swartha Gati means something which you acquire or do something. Swartha, selfishness. Gati is what is your selfish motive? What is your motive? Selfishness means maybe you can, it's not a negative term when talked, that what is your motive, self motive for coming to Krishna consciousness is to reach Vishnu. And Prabhupada is also talking about that. He mentions over here that Varnashram system jo diya gaya, right? Chaturmarnyam Vaya system, Guna Karma Vibhaga. We know about it. So, and even Bhagavata mentions that the entire Varnashram system, the purpose is to Samsiddhim Haritoshanam, to please the Supreme Lord, right? So Varnashram system jo humko malum hai, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, right? We know about that, 4 Varnas and 4 ashramas. All this entire system is that we please the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu, right? So that is what is spoken in the 7th verse. And also Prabhupada is talking about how regulated you need to be. Like you need, whatever your services are, your services should be regulated. And because of those regulations, you will be able to please the Supreme Lord. And he gives this analogy in the purport saying that a sincere sweeper is much better, is far better than a charlatan meditator. Charlatan, find out in the dictionary, is a false pretender जो कुछ दिखाने की कोशिश करता है. And you know, he's much better as a meditator, because only for the sake of living, these kind of people meditate upon certain things. They don't actually genuinely follow certain things. Like they don't genuinely have that kind, so they are pretenders, right? So that is what is spoken in the 7th verse. Now coming to the 8th verse. Okay, fine. So let what am I supposed to do? Now Krishna is now coming to more better things. So he's saying, so do your prescribed duties, right? So the 8th verse talks about performing your prescribed duties. For doing so is better than not working. And one cannot even maintain one's own physical body without work. As simple as example, अगर किसान बोलता है कि नहीं मैं सिर्फ सोऊंगा and मैं कुछ करूंगा नहीं, तो अन्न कौन उगाएगा, right? कौन who is going to plow the fields, who is going to sow the seeds, right? If you do that kind of an endeavor, then Krishna will give rains. And then if you do your duty, if you do some sacrifices, through that then rains come. Then rain aega, if there is some good sacrifice done, then rains come, and then through those rains we get our food grains, right? तो अगर किसान ही खुद आलसीपन दिखाएगा तो हम लोग का खाना पीना कहाँ से आएगा, right? Where are we going to get our food grains from, right? So basically what he's trying to say, अगर हम लोग भी, like for example I'm working, right? If I suddenly say नहीं मैं अभी सब कुछ छोड़ के I want to sit at home, if I don't work, who's going to feed me, right? I need to earn my livelihood. I need to work for a company. I need to get salary. Through that salary, I can run my family. I can feed my own self. I can feed my family. I can even do charity. I can even donate to others, right? So this is something which is very, very important, which is spoken over here, which is talking about Nishtam Karma Yoga. So Krishna is introducing that concept. So he's saying Niyatam Karma, it is better than renunciation of, Karma Sannyas means to basically do Tyaga. Karma ko bhi sannyas. Sannyas means renunciation. Karma means karma ka hi sannyas karna. So basically karma ka sannyas karne se, it is better to actually work niyatam karma, right? Now over here, in this next verse, let us see. Yeah. So Krishna is now talking about the reasons why karma yoga is better, why Krishna is giving karma yoga than to follow that renounced order of life. So he's saying that it is unnatural. It is unnatural because prematurely, without performing, going through that regulated mode, you cannot achieve those success. Unnatural है आप directly jump नहीं कर सकते आप. So it won't lead to purification. It won't lead to advancement, and that is what he's speaking over here. Then it is something that you disrupt the social order. Now we know that varnashram system hai. You start from being a brahmachari, you're studying under a guru, you're studying, going to school. That is also being a brahmachari. Brahmachari doesn't mean that आप saffron कपड़े पहन के temple में रह रहे हो. नहीं, it's not that. Of course, ancient times में जब गुरुकुल system हुआ करता था, तो the spiritual master के under disciples वहाँ रहते थे, wearing saffron clothes and staying under the guru. But even you as students, you're also right now are studying, right? So you are all in the first order. So you are in the first order. So brahmachari, then grihastha, vanaprastha, then sannyas. So suddenly you cannot jump to sannyas ashram because that is unnatural again as a first. And then social order, the social order set kiya gaya, right? Krishna has given the social order that you need to follow the varnashram system, and because that is going to disrupt the social order, that is where he is discouraging that you should not do that. And the third point, which is also talking about that you cannot maintain your own body. Like I gave you the example how that I'm doing my job, but I can't suddenly stop doing my job and sit at home. I need to work because I need to earn some salary. I need to earn money. And even if I don't do job, say business or anything, I need to work, right? Because in order to maintain my body, I need to work, right? So that is where the entire thing is explained. Now, let us go to the ninth verse, where Krishna is now talking about work for Vishnu. He's saying that you work for Vishnu. Yajnat karmano karma naitre karma nyatra loko yam karma bandhana tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Right? So in that he's mentioning about that. He's giving a translate. The Prabhupada gives the translation that work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Right? So he's saying that you work for Vishnu. That work, whatever is done, it has to be done as a sacrifice. What is that meaning of sacrifice? किस चीज का त्याग करना है? You need to renounce your results, like fruits oriented work नहीं करना है, right? Then this is what he speaks in that in the ninth verse. So work for Vishnu, don't work for simply for the sake of your own self, and whatever you're doing, whatever the results you get, don't be attached to that. Rather, offer those results to Krishna. And your endeavor, whatever endeavor you're doing, that you should be doing it for the sake of Krishna, right? To please Krishna. That should be your goal, ultimate aim, right? So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you're not free from the desire for the results of action, okay, I should work, but I need to also be little bit like fruits. Thoda mere ko hona chahiye. But Krishna is then saying that don't give up your duty. He's saying that you should still perform action with desire. At least perform some action and do karma kand rather than giving up actions completely. That is what he's speaking over here. And so here in the next verse, Krishna also is explaining. Okay, so over here there is this mention coming that there is something known as a yoga ladder, right? So for example, यहाँ पर हम लोग शुरू होते हैं. If you all know that how the soul transmigrates from different bodies and directly they don't reach the human form of life, right? So the soul might start from animal life, or then we achieve the human form of life, we understand certain point of things, and then हम लोग अगर animalistic life, because we don't understand the difference between what is the difference between human beings and animals. Animals तो क्या है? They are like sleeping, eating, sleeping, mating differently. Four activities. Human beings भी वही करेंगे, so then there is no difference between humans and animals. But human beings have a different ability to think, and that ability makes us different from animals, through which we can then start, so basically animalistic type say karma kanda, then sakama karma. So that's how the yoga ruda means ladder in Sanskrit. So yoga ruda. So animal life, karma kanda, sakama karma yoga, nishkama karma. Sakama means you want to work for the fruits. Then nishkama is you're not attached to its fruits. Then Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yoga means as we discussed previously, right? Gyan Yoga में हम लोग कोई काम नहीं करते, no work, सिर्फ accumulating knowledge. Then Ashtang Yoga में we know that mystic siddhis, Ashtanga, there are eightfold practices which you do, mystic siddhis जो करते हैं, and then Bhakti Yoga. So this is the yoga ladder in which you actually perform this thing. And over here there is even destinations given. Gyan Yoga के लिए so these kind of people are people who are meditating, or these kind of people will enter sunshine, yeah, Brahma Jyoti. Then sun disk is when they understand the form of God. They understand that there is some kind of physical ability to that light, right? So we know sun, we know sunlight, and we know sun god, right? There are three forms. And sun planet, we know that there is sun planet and there is sun god, right? So this is how the yoga Ruda ladder, the yoga ladder goes on. This is how progressive this thing goes. So basically, this is something which Prabhupada has given us, and Krishna is also recommending this to us. If we read the entire Bhagavad Gita, actually understand that how Bhagavad Gita also takes us from that animalistic life to Karma Kanda, then Sakam Karma Yoga, then it takes us to Sadhana Bhakti. We are all performing Sadhana Bhakti, right? Sadhana Bhakti and Nishtam Karma Yoga. We are all trying to perform Nishtam Yoga. We are a devotee, we are performing sadhana bhakti, and we are doing our activities, and then then slowly this sadhana bhakti will mature into bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. So this is how the stages go ahead. Okay, so these are different kinds of ladders: express elevator, progressive yoga ladder, extended yoga ladder. So if you see, directly we have actually started doing. So हम लोग ने एक्सप्रेस एलिवेटर का पार्ट पढ़ा है. हम लोग ने ये 5 जो गनीज और योगीज ये सब जो कर रहे हैं, ये सब लोग नहीं है. We have actually got, because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Guru Shishya Sampradaya, we are also extremely fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada to actually connect us to this yoga ladder, and he has given us that express elevator step. Directly sadhana bhakti start karwa diya, from not doing that jnani kind of thing, and through sadhana bhakti, when we practice that sincerely, we will definitely go to bhava bhakti and prema bhakti, and definitely we will reach our destination, right? We have about, it's already 6:50 now. I think I should stop here, and if anybody has questions. So it's a long chapter, 43 verses are there. The next set of verses, we'll cover it in the next session. I wanted to know if anybody of you have any questions, so I can take those question answers rather than dumping you more with information dump. I don't want to information dump on you, but there's a lot of things. Bhagavad Gita is a vast scripture, but I feel that this is going to long a lot. And of course, these principles we should actually learn, even though if we don't understand it right now, like we discussed, right? Even though it's at an imperfect stage, we still should start working, and because that work will actually purify us, right? So from this slide onwards, I will take it in the next next session, whenever is it next week, so that we discuss more details about how we transcend from karma kanda to karma yoga. So I'll quickly summarize what we spoke today. We started with the summary of the second chapter, the first and second chapter. We saw how the second chapter connects to the the third chapter, that is karma yoga. We saw how the entire summary of the first, how Arjuna gets bewildered. Then we also saw the different kinds of pathways of yoga, different types of yogas we saw. Then even in the third chapter, where Krishna talks about Arjuna starts getting confused. Then we see how Krishna starts guiding Arjuna towards Nishtam Karma Yoga. And he says that how Nishtam Karma Yoga is much better than acquiring knowledge, simply acquiring knowledge, that is Gyan Yoga. And then we also saw that how Karma Kanda becomes Karma Yoga in the subsequent verses. Okay. So, and we discussed about Prabhupada's purports and all those things, which actually gave us much details, which gives much details about how Nishkam Karma Yoga must be performed. Prabhupada simplifies what Krishna's mood is, and through which we can actually understand how we need to perfect our life. Today is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day, and we should actually pray to our Acharya. He's considered as the seventh Goswami because he's done so much of activity. So we can actually speak about him for hours together. But I actually wanted to, he's written these, so all of you, I guess everybody likes to hear Vaishnav songs, and especially in Vaishnav songs, the major contribution we see a lot of songs written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So today, आज हम लोग ने जो भी purport वगैरह देखा है, all these verses, whatever we have seen, everything, our Vaishnava Acharyas have written as Vaishnava songs. And these Vaishnava songs have a lot of detailing and about very good details about it. So there is one song which talks about this entire chapter today. That song is Gai Gaura Madhura Sware. So in that, the second stanza. So I'll just sing the two stanzas and then we can end for today. So the two stanzas were Gai Gaura Madhura Sware, Gai Gaura Madhura Sware, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in the second verse, in the second stanza, it talks about Grihe thako vane thako, sada hari bhole thako. So in this verse, we can actually hear that Grihe thako, vane thako. अब घर पे रहो, वन पे रहो, किधर भी रहो, भगवान का नाम जपो. सदा हरि बोले थाको. So this is where he says that, Sada Hari Bole Thako. So this entire thing, whatever we did till now, the entire third chapter gets summarized over here. So this is a very beautiful song. I would recommend all of you to go back and browse the Vaishnava songs book. If you have a PDF, you can see that, or if you have the app, you can see that, and actually read the meaning of this, beautiful Vaishnava song written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So it actually gives you a very good summary of what entire thing which we have discussed today. Okay. So I will stop here for any questions or any clarifications all of you have. सब बोर हो गए क्या? मैं जो भी बोल रहा है इतना देर से प्रभु इतना फिलॉसफी झाड़ दिया आपने.
No problem.
Yes, Subhadra. Any questions? It's time for question answers. Okay, I can see Subhadra, we have Hari Praveen, Ashay Prabhu, Rashmi Kumari, Mataji, Rahul Prabhu, Sarthak Prabhu, Geetika Kohli, yes. Any questions? सब कुछ समझ में आ गया है या कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आया?
Prabhuji, as a practical question, how can we as students practice Karma Yoga?
Yes, Hari Praveen, you're asking anything? Okay, आपने chat में लिखा है. आशय प्रो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं. Okay. Ashay Pro is asking, lust means desire. So desire to get good score in academics is also desire. There is a contradiction. Okay, very nice question, Ashay Pro. Something which I guess everybody might have, but you've nicely asked this question. So Prabhus and Matajis, try to understand desire. जो definition है, it is desire to enjoy separately than Krishna. If you don't want to practice Krishna consciousness, or you want to enjoy separately than Krishna, that is what is defined as lust. So basically, अगर आप ये lust के, if you want to enjoy something which is contradicting the Krishna conscious principles, that is where you go wrong. That is where it is lust. So that desire is kind of denied. But if you're like, for example, Ashay Pro is writing कि अगर हम अच्छे marks लाना चाहते हैं तो क्या ये desire गलत है? No, Prabhus, this desire, no, Prabhus Mataji, this desire is not wrong. ये अच्छे marks आप किस लिए लाना चाहते हो? That is very important. तो आपका desire क्या है? आपको अच्छे marks लाना है क्योंकि शायद इसके वजह से आप क्लास के टॉपर होंगे या आप people will be happy to see you as a topper, and then people will be recognizing you. They will try to, you want to become famous. ये सब intentions and motivations है. Or maybe like the अगर आपको नहीं क्या, you want to Mataji's attract हो जाएंगे, or maybe everybody will be attracted to me, everybody will follow me. If that is the motivation, then yes, that is lust. But if your motivation is no, I want to be responsible, I want to become a topper, because with this I can serve Lord better, I can become much better servant to the Lord, and I can serve Krishna much better, I can make Krishna famous to the whole world. So through that, then that is not lust, that is again coming as Nishkam Karma Yoga. So because you're off, and then you offer those results. So when you get good marks, right? So you don't say that ये मेरे मेहनत के वजह से good marks आए, but ये कृष्णा के मर्सी के वजह से good marks आए, right? मैंने मेहनत तो किया, but मेरे मेहनत के साथ Krishna's blessing I have. So that is where then you get that is Nishkam Karma Yoga. So you're offering your results because of Krishna. I got these things, right? So this is something which we also used to practice. कि हमारा कोई mark sheet आ जाता था, we are getting good grades and all. Used to go and offer that mark sheet to the Lord, So हमारे 10th के results, 12th के results ऐसे कुछ आते थे. So we used to go and offer these results because Krishna के वजह से वो results आए, and because of Krishna's mercy we have got those goods. This thing. So I hope that answers your question, Ashit Prabhu.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much for asking a good question. Anybody else has any other questions?
Haribol Prabhuji.
Yes, Hari.
Prabhuji, as students, how can we practice Karma Yoga?
Sorry, your voice broke. As quoted, and उसके बाद आपने क्या बोला?
As students, we are all students, right?
Students. Okay.
How can we practice Karma Yoga?
Yeah, so that is what I said, right? So first of all, as students, you need to study. That is you doing your prescribed duty. Karma Yoga में पहले आपको अपना prescribed duty करना. Second thing is you need you need to do your prescribed duty, that is studying. Prescribed duty, doing it in a proper way. Now doing it for Krishna. So basically आपका motivation क्या है? Why do you want to perform your prescribed duty? Because it will please Krishna. That should be your motivation. That's point number 2. Point number 3 is you want to please Krishna. तो आप उस चीज के लिए अच्छे से करोगे, right? So imagine like suddenly the Prime Minister of India comes to your house, right? So will you give him a sadharan chair to sit, or will you give him a royal chair to sit? You will treat him with the best possible way, right? So trying to understand that Prime Minister के लिए हम इतना कुछ कर सकते हैं. So Krishna के लिए also we want to offer the best possible way. So we'll give our best endeavors in trying for studying well, doing well in our academics, and once we get a good score, we offer those scores to Krishna. As simple as that. And then through these good scores, then you actually get a good job, and through this good job, whatever money you're earning, you can actually use that money for, of course, you need to save for yourselves, you need to save for your family, to maintain your family, and other than that, you need to do charity activities like giving to temple, helping temple, do preaching. You yourselves also can be a part in preaching. You can preach to your colleagues, and then Krishna will be pleased through that. So this is what is Nishkam Karma Yoga for all of us. Does that answer your question, Hari Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So there are 3 steps which I told you, if you remember. Yes. Any other questions? Rashmi Kumari, Geetika, Rahul, any questions from your side? Okay, so I guess it's already time. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can put the questions in the group. You can also reach out to Narshindila Prabhuji. Prabhuji is spending a lot of time, despite his health and his busy schedules. He's trying to spend a good time for you, and his consciousness is many times, always, how can I improve the preaching? How can I help all devotees, all of you? So that's where he's trying to serve. He's trying to bring you closer to Krishna. So that is where he's doing his duty, and he's trying to bring more souls closer to Krishna's lotus feet. So that is where he's also doing his duty as prescribed duty. So it's not that he's sitting idle. He's a brahmachari, but he's busy with so many things happening, prachar kam, and even his own services, his own swadhyay, right? So definitely you can reach out to Prabhuji also for any questions, any other further clarifications all of you have. And thank you so much for staying so long with me and tolerating me. Please forgive me if I've spoken anything wrong or hurted you in any way. Thank you so much for being a part of this session, and hope to see that you can practice these principles in your daily life and make your life perfect. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, all of you. You can end this. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Subhadra. Thank you so much.